Artur Shilovs, whilst bolstering up the depth of the options, but currently being held down by dollar amounts with Teddy Bluger and Joshua's contracts. You can debate whether or not. So, on July 15th, yesterday, Drance went out there and published this article on The Athletic as well. A new Canucks notebook. What he is hearing about the Canucks free agent bargain bidding plans, reflections on the Shilovs trade, early handicapping roster battles for the final few spots, by one Canucks news summary, stood out there and summarized the new Thomas Drance article. So, big shout out once again to Canucks news summaries for recapping and providing the scoop in a digestible, easy to follow along format. Let's go out there and take a look at what's going on with the Canucks. Thomas Drance still has multiple UFAs on tap here. Vancouver, they're tracking these guys. They're interested. They're trying to just see what's going on with these UFAs. Drance, however, does not see something happen imminently, and the Canucks are actively explore later. Drance also views Bluger and Joshua as potential trade candidates here for the Canucks to move out the money. Not surprising, those are the guys that we've been talking about all of the past few days here. Drance then goes out there and starts to give some reflections on the Artur Shilovs trade. The Canucks knew that trading Shilovs for the return they were going to get would be a negative emotional reaction from the fans. Yeah, okay, I am 100% understanding of that. We had already said this a few times, but when you think about just the market for backup goalies in the NHL, Daniil Tarasov went for less. Other backup goalies, whenever they get moved around, they usually go for around this price or even less than what Shilovs got. The Vancouver Canucks actually got pretty good value considering the status of Shilovs as an American League affiliate backup NHL candidate who isn't guaranteed. A fourth-round draft pick and a former first-round prospect is not actually a terrible return, but it's good here that the Canucks knew that whatever it is they were going to get for him, within reason, was going to spark a negative emotional reaction from the fan base. A lot of Canucks fans are pissed off at the Shilovs trade. Oh, why'd they trade this guy? He's so young, he has potential. He just carried the Abbotsford team to a Calder Cup championship. Why would they get rid of him afterwards? It's like, no, they just didn't have room for him. They signed Denver, they signed Mike, and they couldn't bring Shilovs on. And plus, he was waiver eligible next season, so they would have lost him out for nothing if he ended up getting beat out by Denver and Langdon anyway. However, this is where we dive into some of the other aspects of the deal. Shilovs wanted to be a full-time NHL player, which the Canucks gave him the opportunity to do so in Pittsburgh. Teams were interested in Shilovs as part of a package with the 15th overall pick. My Canucks news summaries. As it's been pointed out, the last part in the Shilovs section is about Jay Stillman. I had to edit the name down on this one page and stupidly took out his name. It's all good, Canucks news summaries, no worries. You're doing some fantastic work still. Bottom of the roster over here. This is the plan for the Vancouver Canucks. They're planning for both Pettersson and Bellondo to make the roster. And they're also open to leaving with Sharamaki in the American Hockey League. Max Sasson is viewed by the Canucks as a winger at the NHL level. Aatu Ratu is a heavy favorite to make the team at a training camp. And Baines and Carlson each have the inside track to making the team too. This should not be surprising, and I think it should come as a little bit of solace to Abbotsford Canucks fans who have been clamoring so much, banging the table for, hey, the top AHL guys, give these guys NHL opportunities. They've earned it. They're good enough. They just won a Calder Cup championship. I think we all sort of recognize that just because you are a top-tier stud on the AHL team doesn't necessarily mean you'll be given NHL rights right away, especially for guys who are on the older side, like Max Sasson and Archie Baines. Instead, they're kind of entering that territory in their development where, unless they become full-time NHL players this upcoming season, what they're exhibiting right now is more or less what they're going to be in long term. Like, sure, it is possible to go the Justin Danforth route and just keep on working your way up and up and up and up and up and eventually stick around as a full-time NHL guy in your late 20s and 30s. But it's very rare. So Archie Baines and Carlson, Max Sasson, these guys, they need to show off very well right away, and they need to come out of the gates
Okay, if there's one AI side builder you need to meet, this is Dope Tech from Bricks.
Blazing in order to earn their spots and become full-time Vancouver Canucks. Atu Ratu, with the departure of Pia Suter as well as the potential departure of Teddy Bluger, it's looking a lot more like Ratu has a spot on the team next year. He just has to do his best to make sure he doesn't let it slip away from him. You got to remember, the Calder Cup was awarded to Abbotsford, and Ratu was injured. He didn't play most of the games. So this is still a very talented piece the Canucks have in their prospect system. And he better be talented, and he better be good, because he was the guy the Canucks acquired in the Bo Horvat trade. Okay, let's not go out there and put those levels of expectations on him. Now, the leaf blowers have started going on outside, so I apologize if you can hear that, but we got one more point to talk about. Thomas Drance highlights how the Vancouver Canucks can offer Quinn Hughes an 8-year contract until mid-September 2026. Afterwards, he'll fall under the new CBA and be limited to a 7-year contract. If Hughes goes to unrestricted free agency, he'll only be able to get a 6-year contract due to the new CBA laws. The Canucks now have significant leverage in the Hughes contract or trade talks with him, because if Quinn Hughes all of a sudden wants job security, he wants to go to New Jersey, and he only wants an 8-year deal, Vancouver's going to have to sign that 8-year deal and then trade him. Also, Quinn Hughes wants that money if he wants to be able to make that dough. So, it's been 5 days since we've made a video with gameplay in the background instead of just the Streamlabs. I apologize if you've been hearing cars and wind and planes and trains and automobiles and all that stuff outside my apartment, because it is hot. It's so hot, man. It's like 29 degrees in this room right here and 28 inside. So we wanted to just get into a discussion. I didn't want to dive into a bunch of numbers, and we want to keep on switching tabs back and forth between those prospect ages or whatever. I wanted to talk about the Vancouver Canucks, because earlier this morning you had yourselves the Cam and Strick podcast, which of course features Cam Jensen and Andy Strickland. They had an episode with Tyler Myers that was super interesting to dive into and absorb as a Vancouver Canucks fan. Myers, of course, Canucks defenseman, he was up there in the interview. They talk about a lot of stuff.
Come on, guys, hold it.
Description if you want to watch or listen to the podcast episode yourself. But in this podcast, Tyler Myers had some really interesting comments.
Oh, holy cows!
Defenseman Quinn Hughes. And this is why we don't necessarily need the Streamlabs to go out there and make this video, because there are just a number of folks that I want to focus our attention on.
Oh my god, talk gas, let's go, bro!
Secret that Canucks fans have been somewhat panicky the past few months, I guess. Yeah, that's an appropriate way to timeline it. Yeah, past few months, Canucks fans have been kind of panicky about Quinn Hughes and his long-term projectability as a Vancouver Canuck. We all know his contract is expiring in 2 seasons, which means the Canucks have essentially 1.5 seasons to prove to Quinn Hughes that they are worth re-signing with. A lot of the moves the Canucks have made this offseason, signing Besser, signing Garland, signing Demko, promoting Foote, not trading Henderson, all of these things you could say are with the subconscious idea in mind that they want to keep Quinn Hughes at Vancouver. So they'll keep the guys if he likes. They'll
Holy guys, oh my god, this guy's a stud!
Identifies with, and hopefully it's enough. Not only
Oh my god, my
because
four flying! Let's go!
that's obviously the main priority for this team. But they also do acknowledge that winning not just this upcoming season, but the seasons after 2027, that's a lot easier if they have Quinn Hughes still. So the Quinn Hughes is leaving to join New Jersey and play with his brother's argument has been one that we have discussed a lot on this channel. And Tyler Myers goes out there and directly addresses it. So let's go out there and look at this comment made by Tyler Myers. It was posted by Adam Kears and Black on Twitter. Welcome. I'm excited about it. My Meyer spoke up on the rumors surrounding Quinn Hughes leaving Vancouver after his contract is over via the King and Stray podcast. Quinn doesn't like all that speculation and stuff. He loves his brothers, loves his family, like everyone else. But he's not going around the room saying that he wants to play with his brothers. I know it's a big, big story around the hockey world, but everyone makes it a lot more than it is. So, apparently, Quinn doesn't like the speculation. Quinn prefers not to hear it. Quinn is not saying adamantly, I want to play with my brothers. I want to do this. I want to play with Jersey. I want to play with Jonathan Luke. And for Myers to straight up say, yeah, like he doesn't like the fact that people keep on bringing this up, that's very interesting to me. Now, for what it's worth, if you take a look at what happened next on the podcast, Taz replied to this. He said the funniest part of this part of the podcast was that the host responded by saying that it was Jim Rutherford who made it a big story by saying that Quinn wants to play with his brothers. And after the host said that, Myers went silent. Which also is true. We have to remember that part of the reason that Quinn Hughes wants to...
Oh, whoever wins this game will play Toronto. Oh, fuck, okay.
He said on an interview, yeah, we all know Quinn wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. So if he wants to play with his brothers, then either he goes there or we have to bring his brothers here. But Jim Rutherford is an old man. And that's not being disrespectful. The guy's only 76 years old. That's an old man. But every time this guy speaks, it opens Pandora's box to whatever subconscious underlying narratives that Vancouver Canucks have. And the media gets to feast on all of it. Jim Rutherford is an unfiltered, unadulterated Vancouver Canucks spokesperson that seems to make things a lot more spicy than they really need to be every time he makes some comments or every time he speaks out into the media. You know, I also wanted to dive into some of the other things that Myers spoke about in regards to Quinn Hughes. Myers also said this, that Quinn is maybe the best player I've seen in my entire career, which is not surprising. That's probably fair. I mean, one of the replies here on Twitter is kind of pissed off that Myers isn't acknowledging that David or Draisaitl. But, yeah, no, Quinn is very, very good. And is he probably the best player that Myers has ever played with? I'm not sure about that. Myers had played with Ryan Miller in the past. It was good on the Buffalo teams when Myers was over there. Derek Roy, Brian Gianta, Bowmanville. Yeah, no, okay, Quinn was probably the most talented guy that Myers has ever been. Quinn, just based off of everything that we have seen as fans, he seems to be like one of the most uber competitive guys. Maybe he doesn't outwardly express it in the same way like a JT Miller does. Maybe he doesn't get frustrated and start yelling at guys and cursing at guys and banging his stick on the back of the net like Miller wants to call Delia or whoever it was at that time. Maybe Quinn doesn't exhibit those outwardly aggressive lashes towards his teammates, but we know he's competitive. And if there already is this bubbling narrative in the city that, oh yeah, Quinn wants to leave, Quinn wants to play with his brothers, it's like, oh yeah, don't put words in my mouth, man. Don't go out there and decide my feelings for me. People are already talking about it talking. Oh yeah, he's a quitter. He had the option to stay in Vancouver. He didn't. He wanted to leave. He didn't believe in his group. Yada, yada, yada. It's a little different with Quinn because it's like, oh yeah, everybody knows that him and his brothers is like the ultimate goal, and we all recognize that that is something that they would all probably want to happen.
Come on, guys, score two more.
Leaving Vancouver would be almost the same thing like Rick Tompkins leaving for Philadelphia, just with a lot less fan disrespect coming the other way. Like, I think a lot of Canucks fans would agree with it. They'd be like, yeah, okay, go over to New Jersey. They have a winning team. They have your brothers. It makes sense if you want to go there. But I think really there's not much that separates the legitimate underlying thoughts that really need to talk about if this were to go down. So I understand why Quinn is probably upset with the way Canucks fans are talking about him. And Myers is going out there talking about him.
Wow, Toronto won the cup anyway.
Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Quinn Hughes and the potential of him heading over to New Jersey as well as what Tyler Myers said on it. Well, apparently doesn't much that time. So, who knows? Will he still make videos about it? I don't know. With some other insiders, I'm not going to say that. But when your mother or the real news and says that, yeah, Quinn wants to his mothers, maybe then we will see what happens. But for now, let me know.
You know who's a veteran childhood cancer research for decades? Darius.
Folks, the Edmonton Oilers had failed. Earlier today on BNR Open Ice, we had ourselves former Daily Faceoff insider Frank Saravalli going out there and talking about how the Edmonton Oilers were in the mix before Artur Shulos was traded to Pittsburgh. This is a short video. It's 20 seconds long, and it features Frank giving the scoop. The quote was posted onto dailyhivesports.com. Edmonton Oilers tried to get Shulos before the Canucks traded him. A report from Preston Hodkinson goes out there and has the quote itself. Edmonton is looking to upgrade its goaltending going into the new season. In Stan Bowman was reported eyeing up Shulos as a potential trade option. Shulos had since been traded to the Penguins from a few days ago, meaning that the Oilers' search for a new goaltender will have to continue into the summer. Frank Saravalli was the first to report the Oilers' interest on Tuesday morning. The Oilers were involved. I think another team was in the mix, but just couldn't quite get it done. The Oilers don't really have a ton to offer, and they weren't entirely sure that Shulos is better than what they have right now in Skinner and bigger. Now that is quite the argument, and I do think that there is reason to debate whether or not Shulos is better or worse than Skinner or Bigger at this point in time. Now, I don't want to do the direct compare and contrast thing between each of the three guys because I think that's kind of redundant since Shulos spent the majority of his time last year in the AHL. But I do question, just sort of the dynamic there. If Edmonton was interested in acquiring Artur Shulos, what kind of assets would they have been willing to offer? Was it really not as good as whatever it is Pittsburgh was thinking about, which was Chase Stillman and a fourth-round pick? Or was Vancouver's mindset more in the camp of, hey, we don't want to deal this guy to Edmonton. We don't want to send a potential starting goaltender down the line to a divisional rival? It's almost like the exact same thing that happened 12 years ago with Corey Schneider when the Edmonton Oilers offered a whole bunch to grab Schneider from Vancouver, but the Canucks took the lesser offer from the Devils because the Devils are playing New Jersey, and New Jersey is not just a province away from Vancouver. This has happened before. The only difference is Artur Shulos is generally seen as a lot worse than Corey Schneider was seen back in 2012 and 2013. Yeah, that's a comparison that I'm actually here to make. Oh yeah, Corey Schneider ended up fetching a first-round pick for the Vancouver Canucks, 9th overall, which inevitably became Bo Horvat. And the Oilers were offering so much more than just 9th overall. They were offering a higher pick and a prospect and whatever. But Vancouver said, come on, sorry, we're going to trade him over to New Jersey. And there was some good reason behind that. Corey Schneider had 9.27 save percentage years in Vancouver. He had a 9.3 save percentage the year before that in 2012. 196 goals against average in 33 games played. Yeah, you can really see that back in this era of hockey, goaltending was a lot better compared to where things are nowadays. Artur Shulos was literally one of the worst statistical goalies in the NHL this most previous year. His .861 save percentage and .365 goals against was terrible. It was literally second last. Only Caden Primo had a worse save percentage in totality in the National Hockey League compared to Artur Shulos. So I can totally understand the mental gymnastics that one would have to go through to justify or walk away from an Artur Shulos deal. For as bad as Stuart Skinner is, who, by the way, is the 29th worst goalie in the NHL with an 896 save percentage, you can very well say that Andre Shilov's was just worse. And a lot of the momentum for Shilov's was based off of what he had done in the AHL, which, of course, that's not the NHL, and the sample that he had in the NHL playoffs last year, where he had some really good games. He ended up leading the Canucks in the second round. Game 7 of the second round against Edmonton, but Sheila still only had an 898 save percentage and a 291 goals against in 10 games in that playoff run. Again, he did some really good things. The accomplishments are there. There was value to project onto Sheila based off of his body of work. But the numbers, the raw, hard saves and goals, not great. Now, ultimately, I will say that Sheila's played probably a lot better than an 8-9-8 would imply to bring him within one. But ultimately, it got eliminated, and even though Vancouver Kane said that that Canucks team was winning 324 but could be in the finals, Vancouver was a victim of their own lack of drive and lack of forcing the play to go their way. But now, we look at that Arthur Shilov's performance in 2024 to say, yeah, that was just a run for the ages for a guy. So, for Edmonton, it's kind of intriguing that they would have been involved here. They would have been looking at the opponent that they had, the one they were scoring all of those long-range goals on from long distance. Like, okay, we get it. The Oilers need improvements in net. But is a Calder Cup run for the ages, by the way. It was a really good Calder Cup run. Is that enough to convince Edmonton, oh yeah, this is a better guy than Skinner and Pickard? I guess not. If we head back over to the NHL and we look at these other guys, here's Stu Skinner, 896 save percentage in 2024, 2025. The Edmonton Oilers did not really get the best goaltending out of either of these guys in the regular season nor the playoffs. Sure, Cal Pickard had a 900 save percentage in 36 games in the regular season, but in the playoffs, Pickard was just a tad worse than Skinner, save percentage-wise. Skinner did have a higher GAA, but a higher save percentage too. So, really, it's kind of a mixed bag here. You can't really project too much into what the Edmonton Oilers have going on in his net. And ultimately, because of that, I think there is enough uncertainty for Edmonton to not really put their foot down on the gas on Arthur Shilov's trade. They don't really feel too committed to making that deal happen. Even if they were in the mix, like Sarah Bailey is reporting that it was Pittsburgh, it was Edmonton, it was another team apparently that was in the mix of floating around whatever trade packages for Arthur Shilov's. I do kind of wonder though, because Sarah Bailey said in the quote that the Oilers didn't really have a ton to offer. Neither did the Penguins, to be fair. It was just a former first-round pick that really isn't a first-round pick caliber prospect anymore, and a fourth-round pick. So, what kind of assets were Edmonton offering in this trade? I don't know. Let's go over to the Edmonton Oilers and their Puckpedia page, just so we can see the structure of their draft capital status at the moment and what kind of prospects they have. Yeah, so, okay, they don't have any fourth-round picks for the next 2 years. They probably would not have wanted to have traded a fourth-round pick in 2028 for Artur Shilov's. And then when you think about prospects, I mean, they do have some other guys that are in the system, non-roster guys. I mean, yeah, maybe the Oilers just could not have offered up a better package than the Pittsburgh Penguins ended up giving. So ultimately, with this in mind, I want you to know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea that the Oilers were indeed involved in the Artur Shilov's trade conversation? Sarah Bailey confirms it on PR overnight. They wanted this guy, they were trying to grab him, but then they ultimately decided that maybe it's not the best idea for them. What are your thoughts on what some sort of a trade package really look like? And do you think that the Oilers are better off with Skinner and Pickard? Let me know in the comments on your opinions on the trade. Yes, make sure I show us 9 and 5. That's two power tools are built better to help. Ladies and gentlemen, the Artie Party is making a stop in Pittsburgh as the Pittsburgh Penguins have acquired goaltender Artur Shilov's from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for forward Chase Stillman and a 2027 fourth round pick. Now here's the thing. I think this is a fantastic trade for both sides. I think both fan bases have the right to feel very happy about this. The Penguins figured this out, and look at all the Penguins fans in the response. I love this. Interested to see what happens with Blomqvist, young goals with upside and potential. Vancouver didn't want to trade in their division. Shaq, is this good? Gathering, this is excellent. Calder Cup MVP. She loves his insane potential. Yes, this is good. Absolute steal. Very much so. A lot of Pittsburgh folks are very happy with this deal. And you should be. I'll be the first to say this is a great trade for both sides because for Vancouver, I know that Chase Stillman, we're going to...
Christ, he's desperate this statue.
But Chase Stillman is the brother of one of my arch nemesis, Riley Stillman. But that doesn't really matter. The fact is, Vancouver's projected trade price for Arthur Shelovs was something in the realm of a fourth or a fifth round pick. There was an article posted by David Quadrelli on Canucks Army like 2 days ago, or it might have been yesterday, something like that, projecting what the Shelovs trade price could have been. And he concluded that based off of the Tarasov trade, Arthur Shelovs could have been on the market for like a fourth or a fifth. So the fact that the Vancouver Canucks got a fourth and a player, that's already an upgrade. And plus, the fact is, Arthur Shelovs was a sixth-round pick back in 2019. Imagine turning a sixth-round pick 1 year into a fourth-round pick and another prospect. Multiple years down the line. It is technically an upgrade. Sure, it's not like the most amazing of transactions, but still, the Vancouver Canucks got more value out of Arthur Shelovs than the draft pick that was used to acquire him 6 years ago. Again, 6 years is a long time to make an investment and a bet on a sixth-round pick. But still, Arthur Shelovs had a very good development path in Vancouver. He had a great story. There was a lot to be excited for. And a lot of Canucks fans were super stoked to see what he was capable of doing at the NHL level. But also, there was some doubt because of the logjam of goaltenders that Vancouver had, as well as a limited sample that Shelovs had at the NHL level to start out 24-25. At the end of the day, though, for both Pittsburgh and Vancouver, I think this is a really great trade. It was necessary from both sides, and we can go out there and read just what it is the Penguins are getting here. The Penguins have acquired Arthur Shelovs from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Chase Stillman and a 2027 fourth-round pick. It was announced today by the president of hockey operations and GM Kyle Dubas. Shelovs, 24, is signed through 25-26, and his contract carries an AAV of $850,000. Shelovs is coming off of a career season with the Abbotsford Canucks of the AHL, where he led the team to the Calder Cup championship as playoff MVP. In 21 regular season games with Abbotsford last season, the goaltender went 14-5-2 with a 9.8 save percentage and a career-best 2.1 goals against average. On the Abbotsford Canucks' run to their first Calder Cup, Shelovs compiled a 16-7 record in 24 games with a 2.1 goals against average and a stellar 9.31 save percentage. His 5 shutouts in the playoffs were one shy of the AHL all-time record in one playoff run, and he became just the fourth goaltender to be named the AHL's playoff MVP. In part of 5 seasons with Abbotsford and Manitoba, yeah, that's right, Arthur Shelovs had a very small stint with the Manitoba Moose all those years ago. Very strange year that was because of the COVID shutdowns. But the goaltender has played 110 games and compiled a 59-35-13 record with a 2.58 goals against average, 9.06 save percentage, and 9 shutouts. In 26 career Calder Cup playoff games, Shelovs has gone 17-8 with a 2.08 goals against average and 9.29 save percentage and 5 shutouts. The 6'4", 203-pound goaltender has played parts of 3 seasons with Vancouver, playing in 19 games with a 3.13 goals against average and an 8.80 save percentage since 2022. He suited up for 10 games with the team last season. Yeah, you see, this is why the article doesn't go out there and label the numbers that he had in those 10 games last season, because those 10 games last season were really, really bad. Arthur Shilovs had a whopping 861 goals against, excuse me, goals against, that would be terrible. 861 save percentage and a 365 goals against to open up the depth for Arthur Shilovs. He absolutely came alive in the AHL's Calder Cup playoffs. There was so much potential in what it is he was developing. But unfortunately, because the Vancouver Canucks had signed both Kevin Lankinen and Patrick Enfield long term, and because GM Patrick Aldine was super high on Ty Young and Nikita Tolopino as being the starter and backup in Abbotsford next season, there just wasn't room for Arthur Shilovs. And it's not his fault. Vancouver is sending Shilovs over to a situation in Pittsburgh where they do need goaltending, and they actually will be able to give this guy a role. Last year for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, if you check out what it was they were able to accomplish last season, I mean, you had Blomqvist rotating around there, Christian Jarry was also up and down. There were a lot of questions as to what the Pittsburgh Penguins were capable of in 2024-2025. Let's just take a look at it here. So, Nedeljkovic played 38 games, Jarry played 36, Blomqvist played 15. None of these guys had a save percentage above 900. I'm not suggesting that Shilovs is going to come in here and all of a sudden be the best goaltender. I mean, he never really had the best NHL numbers, but the point is, Arthur Shilovs can win you some games. When he absolutely starts popping up, that's when he's at his best. He did get shut out for the playoffs last year. He played 6 to help eliminate the Nashville Predators. So there always will be some love affair here with Vancouver fans for Arthur Shilovs, but in Pittsburgh, there is a really good opportunity for the Latvian netminder.
So that's not awesome, because sometimes I feel that your brain has gotten much smoother.
That's the first thing. Meanwhile, for Vancouver, coming back in exchange for Shilovs, not only do you have the fourth round pick, but you also have Iron Stone's brothers, Chase Stone, who has not been told as rising is. Chase is 22, 6'1", 185, right-handed guy, signed on to the end of this upcoming season at $863,000. He was a former first-round pick by the New Jersey Devils back in 2021. Call it motive or energy or engagement or drive, Stillman has it. He's willing to go above and beyond, willing to play whenever one needed to the maximum of his ability to give his team the win. He knows when to go after and try to retrieve the puck, and is headed to the best areas of the ice to get a scoring chance off. Issue. His passing skills appear in jump-out flashes, just waiting to be applauded by better details. E.P. Ringside said back in 2021. Chase Stillman, the street
They have another block?
20 points in, 65 AHL games. Really not great. I mean, he seems to have had better production back in the OHL. It's been a very rocky development path here for Chase Stillman. And at 22 years old, it's not looking the most optimistic when you try to project this profile into the National Hockey League. But if you look at Chase Stillman as more of an energy guy who will be hard on the forecheck and potentially bring some underrated shooting potential long term, you're thinking of maybe a discount Kiefer Sherwin type of guy that is coming over to Vancouver in this move. Now, he's only 22, so we can't write him off entirely, but I'm very interested in seeing how Chase Stillman will work with the rest of the Abbotsford Canucks. If you assume that some of those Abbotsford guys will inevitably graduate to the Vancouver Canucks and play some sort of a meaningful role up here in the NHL. So with all that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Arthur Shilovs. The Artie Barty is heading over to Pittsburgh, folks. Shilovs from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Chase Stillman and a 2027 fourth-round pick from the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are your thoughts on this trade? Let me know in the comment section on your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this special show tonight. All right. Now this is a trade idea that I actually do vibe with. And it's not necessarily because the player that we're talking about is the worst player on the planet, nor is it because this guy absolutely stinks or that he's you. Useless or whatever. He's a fine player. But cap space is a commodity around the NHL. And for some teams like the Detroit Red Wings, sometimes you end up using that cap space on guys that don't really move the needle as much as the cap space implies that they should. And over the past few years, Steve Yzerman has gotten into this trap of spending maybe a little bit too many dollars and for too many years on guys that just aren't really worth it.
Do I need Brandon Lee? Probably not,
You're asking
actually.
the question, is JT Comfort? Firstly, he is one of those guys.
Actually, I do not want to trade him to a Western Conference team,
If he could actually
actually.
trade him to a team that could use him more. JT Comfort, 30 years old, 6 feet, 190, right-handed guy, signed on until the end of 2028, making $5.1 million a year. Now, that's a big beefy cap hit right here. And this contract was
Same guy I drafted, like,
after that.
oh shit, it is. So, alright.
Down to 11 goals and 32 points in 76 games. JT Compher is just not the top 6 forward option that the Red Wings thought they were getting back in 2023. With the emergence of Marco Kasper on that second line, as well as some other players like Patty Kane to break it, also establishing themselves in that spot too, you have less flexibility for guys like Andrew Copp, for guys like JT Compher to exhibit top 6 minutes. And sure, you can say that a lot of that had to do with opportunity. It's the fact that Marco Casper worked his way up into the lineup to deserve that role on the team. But now, you have guys in your middle to bottom six making $5.1 million for the next 3 years. So, what gives here, Stevie Y? This is why we're heading over onto Detroit Hockey Now and reading this piece published by Kevin Allen 3 days ago on July 10th, asking whether or not the Colorado Avalanche should reacquire JT Compher. There also is a discussion on Rickard Rakell's trade value at the bottom, which I did want to dive into as well, because Rakell has been a name that has been tossed around there in various NHL trade discussions, and because the Red Wings need a winger to potentially play on the first line with Larkin and Raymond, you could very well say that Rakell is a suitable name there.
July 16th was capped at 100% of hockey proceeds fund will the better feature for Canadian youth.
Now, this article will be linked in the description. Of course, Kevin Allen does some really good work. We're going to read the piece ourselves, but of course, if you want to digest the article on your own time, the link is in the description for all of your reading pleasure. But the article cites a report by Eric Teague on Colorado Hockey Now, who wondered if it makes sense for the Avalanche to reacquire JT Compher. Might I remind you, in Compher's last season with the Avs, he had 52 points in 82 games played. That was a very good season, and it's why he got paid the amount of money that he did on the free agent market. This article says here that Compher helped the Avalanche win a Stanley Cup as a number 3 center in 2022 before signing with Detroit as a free agent. The team points out that the Avalanche have $6.55 million in cap space, but they need some of that to take care of other business.
Anyone
The
do
Red Wings would need to retain salary to make it happen. Compher has 3 years left at $5.1 million per season. That's certainly not a because he's coming off a subpar year. Plus, GMs are loath to take on term these days. The plus for Colorado would be that they know the player, and he played well for them. Detroit wouldn't expect much in return. The minus would be that Compher didn't play last season with the effectiveness he had shown in 21-22 for Colorado. Compher still has a lot of hockey left in him, Dean wrote, and might be one of the better buy-low candidates on the market. Now, my question is, how much salary do you retain if you're Stevie Y? Think about it. JT Compher just came off of a third. Well, this update can be seen as a very small, insignificant deal in the grand scheme of things. Rick Dollywall tweeted out about an hour ago that the Buffalo Sabres and Bowen Byram will avoid arbitration, as at that time they were closing in on a new contract. Shortly after, you had Elliot Friedman go out there and giving the details. Bowen Byram has signed a 2-year contract extension with the Sabres at $6.25 million a year. And at first glance, you can say, oh, great. The guy avoided arbitration. The guy signed a deal. 2 years, $6.25. That's not that big of a deal, right? And I guess you can say that's correct. 6 years, 2 years, $6.25, that's not a big contract at all. The dollar amount is fine for the talent that Bowen Byram provides. The cap is going up. Nobody's going to say that Buffalo is strangling themselves with this kind of a contract. But it becomes a lot more interesting in an even bigger deal when you think about the implications as to the contract length and where this takes Bowen Byram, the player. So if you scroll up into Puckpedia's analysis of the deal, they say here, the Sabres' 24-year-old RFA left-handed defenseman Bowen Byram has signed a 2-year, $6.25 million cap-hit contract. The deal covers 2 RFA seasons and walks Byram straight to UFA status. He's been, represented, there you go, great fun. Represented by Darren Ferris at Warner X Hockey. First in the signing was Rick Dollywall, and first on the terms was Elliot Friedman. Here is the Wikipedia analysis of where the money is going. Byron's 2-year, $6.25 million cap-hit Sabres deal has a $5.25 million salary in the first year with a $1 million signing bonus, and then a full-on $6.25 million salary in year two, covering 2 RFA seasons and expiring as a UFA. That right there is the big part. Expires as a UFA. Bowen Byram has pretty much gotten, what is it? Preemptively traded. That's the term they used on the subreddit. Let's go out there and read this. Our Hockey posted about the Byram contract details 47 minutes ago. I've never seen a player so preemptively traded. Unless this deal has a full no-trade clause, trading for season is just getting started for Bowen Byram. Lots of teams out there could use an offensively talented lefty. Fans will never stop preemptively trading him. Pack your bags. RFAs cannot get no trade clauses, I believe. That is true. Only UFA years are allowed no trade clauses. So essentially, now that the Buffalo Sabres have Byram under contract, and now that we know the number, it becomes all the more easier for teams to start knocking on Buffalo's door saying, hey, can we get that guy? Hey, what's the price for that guy? Hey, what do you want for that guy? Like I remind you, the Sabres already have Dahlin and Power, not to mention Mattias Samuelsson signed onto a long-term deal. Those are 3 lefties already, and then you add Byram, the guy who's already reported to potentially be wanting out, the guy who couldn't really agree with terms with the Buffalo Sabres, the guy who got something to do, the guy who's probably better than whatever it is he has been playing like in Buffalo. This is a young, talented player that I know a lot of Sabres fans can hop on and they can say, oh, he's only good when he plays with Dahlin. Oh, he's not this, oh, he's not that. I'm biased. I'm a Canucks fan. I watched this guy with the Vancouver Giants, and I was like, yeah, this guy has top-tier potential. He couldn't make it work in Colorado because he had to overtake Cale McCarr and Devon Taves. And now in Buffalo, things haven't been really working out all too well for him either. And this contract is pretty fine, I would say. It's so fine that if things went, let's just say they went south this upcoming season. If things are so-so to not break in 2025, 2026, once 2026's off-season comes and Bowen Byram has 1 year left at $6.25 million, and he's eligible for another contract extension at that point, then it becomes all the more easier for Buffalo to dangle Bowen Byram out and be like, hey, we got this guy, 50% salary retained. Anybody want him? 6.25 DB2 was 3.1 something. So 3.1 something for a guy in Bowen Byram who, when he's played without Rasmus Dahlin, a lot of folks will say he wasn't great, but I will also argue that when Rasmus Dahlin was injured and Bowen Byram was tasked with being the number 1 guy, he played very well in that role. Byram, this previous season, had 38 points in 82 games, a career high in points in a season for the young defenseman. And you will still find people saying that he wasn't really all too great. I think a lot of that has to do with the expectation. It's the fact that he was a former 4th overall pick, and a lot of folks were saying that he would have been a number 1 defenseman by this time in his NHL development. It just didn't happen in Colorado. It hasn't happened yet in Buffalo. There's a lot to go over with the Sabres and their decor long term because there are so many good names. But Bowen Byram is maybe one of the odd guys out, especially since he's one of many lefties on that Buffalo Sabres core. He also doesn't happen to be a first overall pick. So a lot of Sabres fans going out there and responding to this positively as well. I mean, you scroll over onto their subreddit, honestly, I'm not even mad. Obviously, this is a cheap bridge deal to get into free agency, but if he plays well, we could get a crap ton at the deadline this year or next year for him. What can I say?
Not much. You just don't need to stitch it in a year. Well, yeah. Not Rudy. No. It's due in 3 years as well. Just try and figure out my detour. I am. Help me figure out my detour. Christ! Ow! Yeah, but he's getting old. Yep. A while. He's an RFA. Unfortunately. So I had to give up some pieces, but it's mostly still the same. Besser has 1 more year left on his contract. And he's 33. Yeah. Okay. He wants 12 million. I can't give him that. I can't give him that. He will drop in 4 years. In a year back contract. He's on a no move clause. I can't trade him. See? He's on a no move clause. I can't trade him. I can persuade him actually. Hold on. I know. You know what? Maybe I can persuade him for leaving. He has great value. I mean, look at that value. Look at that value he has. I need to do a first round pick for him. Please work. Fuck. Yeah, he won't go. Son of a bitch. Oh, that's not my car. That's just at a car show. Unfortunately. I wish I could trade Bester, but I can't. Damn it. He's literally screwing me right now. I mean, I have him coming up. He's replacing Besser. Oh, nice. He won the Calder. That's awesome. That's good to know. Actually, let's check the trophies. Let's see who won. Oh, of course, Toronto. Toronto won 2 cups in a row. Yeah, I made the 3rd round of the playoffs, but I lost to Colorado. Yeah. We were so close. I was 1 game away of playing to the finals. Yeah, Joel McGinley won the Calder though. So that's a plus. Yeah, he's almost done now. He said 34 or 35. I can't remember. What the fuck? LAO? What? Oh yeah, those are my 2 other prospects. Down there, the top players on my team. So, I have 3 guys who won the Calder within the 2030 era. Oh, come on. My coach has never won the Jack Adams Award. That's bullshit. I'm a dishwasher. At a restaurant. I need to hire scouts. Oh shit. No, I didn't. I did not go to college. I just started work right away. Damn, I need new coaches. Shit. Okay. Let me hire coaches here. Yep, Drew Downey will be hired. Brett Berger will be hired too. No, I didn't. Okay, let's see here. My detour is the weakest. I have. My D is the weakest. Yeah, Romanov is hurt. And there's this kid. In real life I do, yeah. No, on the ESPN Fantasy app. I play against other people. How much we want? Oh, Christ. Damn. Noise 5. Ah. Josh. My goaltender's screwing me. Yeah, but check his record. This was his first season. He played way worse in the playoffs than in the regular season. Yeah. And he wants 5 mil. And he wants 5 million. Yeah, I don't know about that. I have a young guy coming up. This kid here. This kid is gonna be a high elite goaltender. I was. We were playing against really tough teams in the playoffs. We played against Minnesota. I mean, if Joshua doesn't come back, this guy is their first one up. I mean, I drafted him in the 6th round. I mean, the first round, 6th pick. 2027. I mean, he doesn't have X Factors yet, and he's 23. Yeah. I did. He was not playing well. He was not playing well at all. He was playing like garbage. Think Vancouver still has him. Yep. I traded him to Vancouver. I forgot what I traded him for, though. Wow, they're giving him 1.7 mil. Really? Yeah, but if you take a look at his records with us, I mean, look at that garbage. You could barely win 80 games. You could barely win 80 games. Right here. Look at that. Sometimes, yeah. Well, he played like garbage for Vancouver this season. Wow. Yep. And Joshua had fucking 37 wins. So I mean, yep, it is. And too bad I can't trade past reviews. I could really get him for a first round pick right now. Oh, I drafted this guy in the past draft. In this year's draft. I made some trades for him. I traded Will Smith. He's out. He's in, trying to remember where he is. Oh, I think Nashville. No? What can I trade Will Smith to? I forgot now. Oh, I'll just do player search. What am I doing? Player search, player search, player search. Oh, okay. Yeah, I might be streaming tomorrow. Okay. I might stream tomorrow. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow. Yeah, maybe tomorrow night again.
Franchise mode. Continue.